What do I think about the Dominicans and what they're doing in the Dominican Republic? With the Haitians. Um, well, let me say this: this is not something new. I've written the Dominicans off a long time ago. I do not fuck with the Dominicans. I struggle with um, when I even see Dominicans. I struggle with keeping it civil once I discover that they're Dominican. I usually just don't fuck with them. I just keep it moving. If I go to a barber shop, I'll fuck with a Puerto Rican barber shop. But if I go to a barber shop and it's a Dominican barber shop, I roll right the fuck out. Fortunately, I haven't made that mistake in quite some time. But I don't spend my money with Dominicans. I mean, because of how they treat the Haitians. And this is the weird thing about being African American. Because we do take on the I don't know the burden of being the advocates for black people all over the world, even though a lot of black people all over the world, they come here in America and then shit on us. Or they come here in America, and they want to, snatch our opportunities, or, you know, um, butt into places and spaces that aren't for them. Like when we talk about reparations, for slavery, like that's not for you. That's for us, right? But then white supremacy goes and grabs them, and then oh, ain't you the good little niggas, and props them up with that model minority bullshit, and tries to throw them, against us, right? Oh, see, the African Americans, they don't act like these foreign blacks, yeah, because they don't have the damage that you've caused to African Americans. They don't have the trauma of slavery and Jim Crow. They don't have that. They don't carry the legacy of that in the American sense, because they didn't have to deal with that. I mean, yeah, we could talk about the racism and shit that goes on in black diaspora and colonialism and everything else like that. But for a lot of these places, once colonialism was over, white people packed up their shit and left. But in America, African Americans have had to deal with white people nonstop, since the end of slavery. And then you get all the redlining and the blockbusting and the eminent domain and the urban renewal and the convict leasing and the debt peonage and the COINTELPRO and the Iran Contras, right? And the denial of FHA loans, right? And the purging of black communities and whatnot, right? We got to deal with all that, right? But they, were able to, kind of carve out their own space with their own culture and shit, and heal, to some degree, unlike African Americans. But you also have groups that just simply have not healed. They haven't had their referendum. They haven't had, what do you want to call it? A come to Hotep moment as it pertains to their own blackness. And I mean, you got to really dive into the history of the Dominican Republic to really, to really understand, the shit. 1804, Haitians have the slave revolt. They take over the whole island and they rule it for 22 years, right? Because if you're on an island and you're going to prevent the French from coming back, right, you got to cover the whole island so that they can't just land their boats, right? So you get Trujillo, who comes to power in the 1930s, and then you have the Parsley massacre, where he basically kills all the Haitians on his side of the island, right? And I've heard Haitians try to bring up, oh, and it was a cruel and brutal rule of the Haitians, for the 22 years that the Haitians ruled the island. I don't know where they get that from. I haven't heard of any massacres or anything that goes on, but the only difference is the fact that the Dominican Republic essentially has always had a stable economy relative to Haiti, where the land was basically overtilled and overworked, planting the same crops over and over again. I mean, this is one of the things that facilitated the Dust Bowl in America. You got to rotate those crops, otherwise some what do you want to call it? Some what do crops, they put things into the soil. Other crops take things out of the soil. But you can't, like example, like corn is a high intensity crop, and you can't just keep growing corn nonstop. Then Haiti also had the issue with, again, they were blackballed, and then they cut down a lot of the trees, which caused erosion to burn charcoal. So it's a whole problem, and they do that whole burning charcoal thing. If you ever been in the Caribbean, they do that shit everywhere. You're like, where is this goddamn smoke coming from? And they build these piles, and they they're like these mounds, and it's just like a smoldering mound, and they make charcoal out of that, right? But it's very detrimental to the environment. But in any event, the Dominicans, they run around, on some coon shit. I mean, I don't fuck with Dominicans like that. What I mean? I just don't, because of the way that they treat, the Haitians. And I don't feel like getting into, pissing matches with them and dumbass arguments. We see it. Motherfuckers want to come through and they want to gaslight you, or they want to come through. And the self-hatred it's just quite apparent. You know what I mean? And it's like, the weird thing is nobody views them the way that they view themselves. Right? Like, a lot of them, yes, they're more mixed than African Americans, but there's a lot of Dominicans that look like many African Americans, because of African Americans have some admixture, just not as much as the Dominicans do. But like, when you look at the photos and you look at the pictures of the Dominicans, like, here, I'll put some pictures up right now. When you look at the photos of the Dominicans, right, these are Haitians, right? These people protesting, these are Haitians. Right, or people who are like one generation Haitian descent, because you got the some of the Haitians that they grew up, they were born in Dominican Republic and whatnot, but the Dominican Republic revoked the whole naturalized, what do you call it? Is it naturalized citizen, or birth citizen or whatever? They revoked that shit because they trying to, again, that Trujillo went in there and fucked their heads up, getting them thinking that they not black when the majority of the island is blackish. And that's the part that gets me. So these are the Dominicans. I mean, these are the Haitian people that you're seeing in the photo. And then these are the cops, the La Migra, you know what I mean? The immigration cops that go and rough up the Dominicans, right? You see what they look like? Yeah, they're not like, yeah, Haitians, a lot of them look like they just got off the Amistad yesterday. But the Dominicans that are the majority of the population, and at the the lower rung of society, right? Because that's how the whole shit works, right? If you're white, you're all right. If you're brown, stick around. If you're black, get back. Right. And so they have this whole stratification. But the crazy part, and this is why I say it's like they're all stuck on this plantation and a bunch of coons, in my opinion, because you'll have the darker Dominicans who are literally a rock star away from Haitian, and they the ones that's giving the Haitians the most energy. They the ones that's coming with the most hate. They're the ones that's being all extra. They're like, they're like that black, like that black cop that always is all extra, that's always trying to prove himself to the other white cops and shit. He's the one that's always doing the chokeholds and the arm bars and just being all extra, right? That's how they are, right? So they on some coon shit. Then when you look at the presidential family and shit, when you look at the cabinet, when you look at all the people that run the government, it's essentially the Blanquitos, the white Dominicans and shit. They're the ones that run all the shit. And a lot of your you got a handful of your like really racist Dominicans, you know what I mean, that are like, we're mixed, we're not this, we're not that, because some of them are smart enough to not say that they're white, even though you do have some white Dominican or white Dominicans, and technically a lot of them aren't even Dominican. They come from outside the country, like what was that documentary, the sugar, the price of sugar or something like that documentary, and they had what was the name of that family, the Vicini family or something, like the Vinici family or Vicini family, I forget, but that's an Italian family. They're not even white. I mean, they're not even Dominican. They're white. They're literally white from Italy. You see, but the real heavy racist Dominicans are the ones that literally have African blood running through their vein. These are the ones that when they come to America and people treat them like they're black, right? Because America really operates on this heavy one drop rule. Like, you're like, if you ain't the purest sense of white, like, you ain't white. You don't get white privilege. You don't get a white card. And they come to America and they get their nigga wake up call. You know what I mean? And these are the type of Dominicans, these are the ones I don't fuck with. You know what I mean? Now, I'm not going to sit there and say that there aren't some woke Dominicans. There are some woke Dominicans, but they're far few and in between. Most Dominicans are on some coon shit, and they should be treated as such, as coons. That's how African Americans need to treat them. All that stuff, yeah, I know, brothers. They up there, they fantasizing about their women. Oh yeah, I mean, I can think of 3 Dominicans off the top of my head. All 3 of these bitches are fucking fine. I mean, unbelievably fucking fine. But I don't fuck with them. You know what I mean? On top of the fact, even if they were like, oh, let me give you some, let me bust it wide open. Like, man, I wouldn't do that shit. Why? Because I got to deal with their racist ass family. I don't care if they were calling me over there. Ay, papi, qué rico, dámelo duro, papi, que sí, papi. Ay, castígame, papi, castígame, dámelo duro, papi. No pares, papi, no pares, dámelo duro, papi, yeah, right? I wouldn't give a shit. I still wouldn't fuck with them hoes. Why? Because I know that they families are racist as fuck. I ain't fucking with them. No. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, like, I'm just saying, it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, they haven't had, their reckoning. They haven't, become woke. They don't have the same, experience. Like, we're reminded every day of the system of white supremacy as black people. Because white people they just can't turn their shit off. You know what I mean? So we're constantly reminded. You know what I mean? And it's only like recently that you see, with even the Puerto Ricans. I remember when Don Omar came out and, he, acknowledged his blackness. Tego Calderon came out and he acknowledged his blackness. And then what's the other group? Zion Lennox. What are they? Are they Dominican Zion Lennox? You know what I mean? Let me go up here and look at this shit. Zion Lennox. I know. Wait, let me see. Zion Lennox. What are they? They're Dominican? Nah, they're Puerto Rican. Yeah, Zion Lennox, and then you got Weezen and Yandel. Nah, they're light, aren't they? Nah, Weezen and Yandel, they're too lights. They're not. They're Puerto Rican. That's another, yeah, they're Puerto Rican as well. But anyway, what was I gonna say? Yeah, I don't, nah, man. The Dominicans, I just write them off. You know what I mean? And it was so crazy. It's like, I mean, I'm sitting here reading crazy ass comments. I forget what this is. Racist Latino on YouTube. It's Phoenix something, and yeah, there was a video that he was commenting on. There was a black guy, and the guy was very dark, and he was like, "They're as black as me." I'm like, "Nah, dude." I'm like, I wouldn't even go as far to say that most Dominicans were as black as, because he was black. You know what I mean? But then the guy went on and he started being all extra disrespecting Africa, disrespecting black people, talking about Kunta Kinte this and Kunta Kinte that. I was like, oh, word. But, him being biracial, I'm like, but you only got that negative energy for black people, but you don't have that negative energy for white people. See, that's what I'm saying. I don't fuck with the Dominicans, man. They be licking the doo-doo crack of white people. They just, yeah. You know what I'm saying? They all up in the doo-doo crack, man. I don't fuck with them, man. And there's nothing to be said because they're not going to change because the self-hatred is that deep. You know what I'm saying? All that mejorar la raza and pelo bueno, pelo malo, all that crap, like that shit is way, way too deep with them. It'll probably take, it's different for the ones that are born here because a lot of them do know what time it is. When you get into the second and third generation, they know what time it is. They know how they're being treated. They know how they're viewed. But on the island, nah. And they talk about all the Haitians, they come over here and we can't see. The thing is like they'll hide it behind like the economics and shit, because Dominican Republic is a poor country. They can't really help out the Dominicans like that, or so they say. Whatever, fuck it, I'll give them that. But that's not the issue I have. It's that inhumane treatment. That's the issue that I have. You know what I mean? And then, the freaking Dominicans, they're fleeing, Dominican Republic, trying to get to America, trying to get to Puerto Rico, right? And they go flock over there and they expect nobody to say anything. And it is a key difference between Dominicans and Puerto Ricans, because Puerto Ricans are U.S. citizens. Dominicans are not. That's why you'll see a lot of shit with Dominican women. Dominican women are known for being gold diggers. Dominican women are known for prostituting themselves. They're known for that shit, trying to get an anchor baby. And even if you do find a fine ass Dominican bitch, up in the New York, New Jersey, Philly area, you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of them are up there in Union and Washington Heights and all that other shit, and Elizabeth and whatnot. Even if you do come across a fine one, guaranteed she's got kids back home and she's trying to get a foothold here and then trying to bring the kids back here. So it's a whole mess. It ain't what you think it is. Regardless of the fact of how fine some of these bitches is or are in the eyes of black men. And even with that, even some of the, we got our own self-hate issues too, and our own, issues with, elevating, watered down versions of black women and whatnot. That shit does go on, So I'm not exempting African Americans from their own version of the same shit that goes on with the fucking Dominicans. You know what I mean? But again, the way that they shit on Haitians, the way that they're so anti-black, that's why freaking Godfrey's joke, you know what I'm saying? I know black, Poppy. I know black. No. I know black. That's why that shit was so hilarious. You know what I'm saying? Because they go out of their way to deny their blackness. Only now, recently, they're like, well, we're actually mixed and everything. Because people started calling them out on how crazy they sound. You know what I mean? But this is what it is. It's just, unfortunately, it's just what it is. I don't fuck with them. I just look at them. And it's just what it is. I just look at them and I wait for them to fuck up. I wasn't surprised about that shit that happened in Dykeman, during the freaking George Floyd protests / riots. I wasn't surprised about that shit. Oh yeah, get the fuck out of here, nigga. You know what I mean? They were chasing, a bunch of black teens who just so happened to be walking through the neighborhood. Get the fuck out of here, nigga. You know what I mean? And then the fucking Bloods came back up in there talking about, we gonna come up in here 100 niggas deep. You know what I'm saying? Run up in all y'all shit. And them motherfuckers was like, ay, papi. Okay, papi. No problemo, papi. You know what I mean? They turned sweet real quick. You know what I mean? So, again, I don't pay them niggas no mind, man. I don't pay them niggas no fucking mind. Because the anti-Haitian, it's you might as well call it what it is. It's anti-blackness. It's anti-blackness. You know what I mean? The Haitians, you know what I mean? Like we already know the history, the blackballing, the way that they've been marginalized. Dominican Republic wouldn't even be a fucking country if it wasn't for the fucking Haitians. They wouldn't even have their own independence if it wasn't for the Haitians. You know what I mean? It's like you got to give them at least that much respect. But nah. They act like they're a plague. They act like they're dogs and animals and shit. And we all see it. You know what I mean? And the way that African Americans, are coming into their own, with understanding, how, racism and power works, you know what I mean? And then we see, again, we end up being the calling out. I don't want to say we're the enforcers because we haven't built up any sort of military might yet, but I'm saying we call out a lot of the shit, right? And it's just something that we just don't tolerate. You know what I mean? Even though, again, that whole transition through our own struggles with our own self-hatred and shit like that, like with the Africans and calling them booty scratchers and all that other stuff. But, as of, I'd say over the last 10 years, you've seen more bonds and more connections. You've seen African Americans trying to live abroad, trying to go to Africa, visit Africa, vacation in Africa. That would have never happened in the goddamn 90s, man. Like in the 90s, motherfuckers was like, man, ain't nothing there but mud huts. And, that's how people were acting, right? And so you have all this consciousness coming through. You got all the, Black Panther, fist in the air, all that shit. And then here you see these off code Dominicans. And then you sitting there looking at them. Like I said, again, I got the picture evidence. You sit there and you look at the cops, the immigration officers that are doing the most, that are being all sorts of extra. I mean, they're only a rock's throw away from a Haitian. You know what I mean? It's like literally standing a Haitian next to an African American. You know what I mean? Standing to say it's like you got Jaimin Hansu, and right next to him is Chris. Excuse me, not Nick Cannon. I wasn't gonna say Chris Brown, but Nick Cannon. Standing right next to him is Nick Cannon. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, yeah, there's clearly a difference between Jaimin Hansu and Nick Cannon, but Nick Cannon, identifies as a black man, and you'll get Dominicans that look just like Nick Cannon, and they'll be like, I know black, papi, I know black. No, 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 it's not the same. Like, fuck out of here. Same with the women. As far as I'm concerned, I personally, I wish African Americans would just blackball the Dominicans. If it's not already happened, just don't fuck with them. Make them feel that shit. Now, they may not care. They'll swear up and down that they don't care. I don't think that that's how it's going to play out. But I'm just saying, African Americans should, to make it known, we don't fuck with you. That's just my take. That's my opinion. Whatever y'all want to do, that's up to you. But that's how I look at it. I'm like, because I don't see the capes coming out. I don't see them. If anybody should be speaking up on the shit, it should be other Dominicans calling the shit out. Now, again, I'll put the link in the description box of the sister that made the video calling out. I mean, she even came to tears. You know what I'm saying? And again, unfortunately, just like the guy said, you're talking about, oh, she's American. She's American. And they do have Dominicans that are born here do have a slightly different perspective because of, like a woman will be like, oh, she's not a black woman. Chick, you a black woman in America. You know what I'm saying? Like let the freaking police pull you out of a car or go rob a bank and see what they say over the intercom or some shit like that. I got a black female wearing gym shorts. You know what I mean? Like that's what they're gonna say. They're not gonna be like, oh, this Dominican, this racially ambiguous, this 3/4 black. Like they're not gonna say that. They're gonna be like, yeah, this nigga bitch is this, that, and the third. That's what they're gonna say. It's just like when I was dealing with that Sudanese chick. Her father came to America first, went back to go get his family. And then she told me her father told her point blank. She said, I know that when we're in Khartoum in Sudan, you know what I mean? They basically see themselves as Arab, even though the rest of the Arab world don't see them that way. And the Arabs got their all their bullshit running around. See, there's that whole racial hierarchy bullshit that even black people buy into. They running around calling black people Abid and all this other shit, calling black people slaves. Right? And they saw themselves as Arab. And if you don't know the history in Sudan, the northern Sudanese who essentially are just slightly lighter. The northern Sudanese are like the Dominicans, and the South Sudanese are like the Haitians. And the North Sudanese enslaved the South Sudanese because they adopted the Arab shit and Islam and all that other crap. Right? But when he came to America, he got a nigga wake up call. And he told both of his children, when we are in America, you are black. And that was the first time in their life that they ever identified as black. To them, black was the Nilotic people, the Nilotes. That's what they thought black, the Dinka tribe, right? That's what the Elek-Wek, that's black to them. You know what I mean? But here in the States, like white people don't make that distinction. They're like, yeah, this nigga over here, this nigga over there. Like that's how they present. And a lot of the Dominicans that come to America, the children that are born here, you know, more of them know what time it is than their parents do. Y'all saw that shit with that woman with the doll and with her grandmother, and she was giving her daughter the black doll, and the grandmother was like, no, no, no. You know, she pushing the doll away. Like, bitch, the fuck you think you look like? Like, the self-hatred is deep, yo. I mean, you really got to do some homework and some research on Trujillo and his bullshit and the Parsley massacre. It's fucked up. It's completely fucked up. You know, and so, you know, my whole thing is, you know, I got a serious issue with Dominicans being in the Dominican Republic. We know what's going on. They fucking up the Haitians, and then they think they're going to come here and think it's sweet. You know what I mean? And think the shit is, you know, that we gonna be all chummy and whatnot. Nah, fuck that. Fuck that. You know what I mean? I will run up to the door and slam that shit on a fucking Dominican. Bitch. You know what I'm saying? Oh yeah, I don't fuck with them like that. No. No, 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 no. No, no. No. I remember one time I was in where was I at? I was in in a suburb right outside Miami, and there's a 24 Fitness, and this big ass parking garage, and on the first floor, right next to the parking garage, there was this Dominican spot. I didn't even know that I had walked. Like, I mean, I knew I was. It was like a salsa place and everything. You know, I'm not the greatest salsa dancer, but you know, I can keep up a little bit. So I was like, all right, let me go in here, see what's in here. I'm thinking, oh man, I'm gonna see some bad bitches in here. Anyway, so I go in there, right? And there's other people in there that I'm like, you know, black-ish. You know what I'm saying? Like I like my mind, I didn't walk in there and be like, oh, it's all white people. Like, you know, when you go to a spot, it's like, oh, it's all white people. No, that's not how I felt. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, yeah, I'm like the same complexion of quite a few people, you know, that were in there. But obviously I look different than they do. Well, apparently I was a little bit too black for the bouncer, right? And the bouncer, he was like a black dude but with keen features, right? It was like, you know, like like he looked like a tan, I don't even know what you want to call it, like a tan, I'm gonna say a tan Mexican, but you know what I mean, he looked like, what did he look like? I want to say like Jesse Williams or some shit like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he was racially ambiguous. I'll just leave it at that. He was racially ambiguous. You know what I mean? But he had like black people hair to a degree, but you know, like with like the S curl. You know how Dominicans look and shit. So I go in there and he's like drilling me on where I'm from. Where are you from? Where are you from? I'm sitting there, I'm like, from Jersey. You know what I mean? Like, down here visiting and shit. You know, where are you from? Where are you from? Right? And it didn't dawn on me. You know what I mean? This dude was really trying to figure out whether I was fucking Haitian or not. Like, as though if I said, oh, I'm from Haiti, like there was going to be problems. Because Florida's got a ton of fucking Haitians. And the Haitians usually walk around, they got the wicks and all this other type of shit. But anyway, and I'm saying, you know, when I'm in Florida, you know, I do get, you know, the oh, you could be Haitian, you could be Haitian. I don't know where that comes from. I really don't, you know, but I have gotten that from time to time, and I usually get it from Spanish people. I don't get that shit from white people. I get that shit from Spanish people. But anyway, so what was I saying? So the dude, he was just drilling me. I wasn't paying him any mind, but like, you know what I mean, like, you know when somebody's giving you like that body language, like they want to fight you, like, you know what I'm saying, like he's like swinging his body back and forth, like as he's asking me questions, you know what I mean? I'm like, what's up with this dude's like body language, right? So I'm just sitting there, I'm like brushing him off because he wasn't bigger than me. So like I usually I'm not fazed by that. Like you'd have to go and get that white dude from fucking Troy, you know what I mean? You know, after Brad Pitt's character killed him, you know, is there no one else? You have to get that big ass white boy for me to like feel some type of way, because usually I'm the biggest dude in the room. But anyway, the owner, who was a Dominican woman, and I still give this woman praise to this day, because she was taking care of me the whole night. Do you need anything? Can I get you anything? Oh, have a seat. Da 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 da. I mean, she was making sure that I got the absolute best. And she was the owner. She was the owner, but whoever the bouncer was, that motherfucker did not want me in there. You know what I mean? So, again, I gotta say it's not all of them, but it's enough of them where it's a fucking problem. It's enough of them where we can say it's the majority of Dominicans are on that bullshit. And it's just I don't fuck with them. I ain't got the time to sit around and sort out and sift out who's on what. I don't have the time for that shit. You know what I mean? The bottom line, I don't see enough Dominicans speaking out again. You can go on YouTube, you can pull up the videos. There's enough videos of freaking these racist Dominicans, that come out and they're like these pro-blacks. What they call us Afro Nazis. These Afro Nazis. I'm like Afro. That's a first. That's some new shit right there. Yeah, these Afro Nazis. They want everything to be all pro-black or they black, black, black. Like, that's not what we saying. Well, all we saying is we see the way that you shitting on the Haitians, and we don't fucking care for that shit. Even though, as we have these ADOS foundational Black American conversations about reparations, some of the Haitians can get beside themselves and then operate against our own interests. So sometimes I wonder whether, as an African American, I should even shut up about what's going on with the Haitians. Because when the Haitians get here, even they start acting brand new. So I'm like, damn, I can't even stick up for some of y'all motherfuckers, because some of y'all motherfuckers be off code too. So I mean that's just how I look at it. That's just my take on it. I don't have anything else to say about it. I don't fuck with the Dominicans like that, because I know how they shit on the Haitians. But anyway, that's all I gotta say. That's my video. SWP out.